forceful as possible in getting your citizenry to wear masks. Masks are important. We know that masks are really important.
It seems like he just said earlier that masks are not important, but now he says masks.
Quote, fewer than 1% of vaccine adverse events are reported by the VAERS system, fewer than 1%.
There's no suggestion that this vaccine actually causes people to die.
My message to everyone is it's safe.
Can you see it?
It will keep you and your families safe.
Can you talk to me?
Bleeding, profuse bleeding, has been seen in individuals who have gotten the Moderna vaccine, right? They have bleeding to the skin, jerking over the whole body, which also can be the consequence of thrombus formation in the brain, has been reported from America, people taking that vaccine. And this jerking, which is horrible, these people will probably never be normal again, you know?
We're going to go and vaccinate as many people as we can in our population.
That vaccine, and this jerking, which is
we need help.
The internet is full of these cases. Blood clots, strokes, immediate death. The limit to shut down a program is about 25 to 50 deaths. Swine flu, 1976, 25 deaths, they shut down the program. It's not safe.
So far, this vaccine is looking incredibly safe.
You can imagine that towards the end of the year, we're going to have to be able to find unvaccinated, unbooked people to prioritise them for whatever initiatives we can deploy to.
I can't say that, that we're not going to have some hesitant people or some people who just haven't come forward that we don't have to go out and find next year.
In the United States, at 100 million people vaccinated, this is far and away the most lethal, toxic, biologic agent.
You know what? Not because of the ones who didn't take it, but because of the ones who did. However, what they're going to pull is that the people who didn't take it are the reason why people are dying, and not the other way around. It's very sinister and it's very cunning. So enjoy your and then in fall, they're going to pull the rug out right from underneath everybody. You see, because the people who took the you-know-what are ticking time bombs, and they're going to start getting infected again from this disease to a much higher capacity, and there's going to be a lot more deaths because of
ever injected into a human body in American history, and it's going strong.
It's going strong. They want us all, and I saw this, and I agree with it.
So this is how it's going to go the next year. You see, they're going to give us our summer. They're going to let us feel what it's like to go back to normal. Enjoy your time with your families while you still can, because ultimately the plan has already been set in motion. It's very clear that this is the final plan to destroy all world governments and economies and usher in the new world order.
And how long has this plan been into place? Dr. Fauci, Melinda Gates, and Barack Obama at Wuhan Lab in 2015. There they are in the picture where they paid the lab $3.7 million. That's what they said, but we heard earlier it was in the billions. So what else is going on? Check out what Ecuador has been up to. It's in a different language. That's the prohibition. Let's see. Second dose vaccination card will be required to enter shopping centers, to enter restaurants, and in the last, it's going to be needed to get on the public transport. So, sirs, the vaccination card will be your entry pass if you want to go out of home. They seem to have several months to get vaccinated before taking measures as the one that we are announcing today.
We need to be clear and direct about our messaging.
We need to be clear and direct about our messaging. What did she say? What was the clear, direct message again?
Safe. Why they can still kill you, even if you are under the age of 27.
Why the vaccines can still kill you. Maybe a slip-up. A test toxin.
Outside of the venue yesterday afternoon, the tickets for the show were sold only in person over the weekend to people 21 and over. But this is the big one. You had to show proof of a vaccination.
Few moments later.
Breaking news.
Huh? Well, this guy's not slipping.
Look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Here's your word. Here's your word.
I was murdered.
You were murdered.
Yep, so the only pandemic we have is the unvaccinated. And this happened to be something for you to see. The Foo Fighters all got vaccinated and then went full-on medical tyrants, denying anyone access to their concert if they weren't jabbed with... Got to get some humor in there somewhere. Boy, I tell you, it's hard to laugh nowadays with all of this going on. And these guys said, nope, you're not coming. You're not coming to our concert unless you've been jabbed. Well, they get jabbed and they get positive for the virus because, obviously, it's all make-believe. And the Irish are rising up. I saw this. Irish protest after the corrupt...
Hour, the Foo Fighters have postponed their upcoming concert on Saturday at the Forum because the band says there has been a confirmed case of COVID-19 within the Foo Fighters organization.
Politicians pass a vote allowing only vaccinated people to dine and drink in pubs and restaurants. France, Greece, now Ireland. We stand with you, brothers and sisters, for sure. Man, I'd love to get to Ireland to visit. That's awesome. It reminds me of just a great passion. They're screaming, take your vaccines and get out of here, along with demands on Prime Minister to resign. And also I saw this out of New Zealand. They have actually had enough. Check this out.
The lies. No taxes. Yeah, right. An open and transparent government. Yeah, right.
And so we've got another one, protest in Paris. Look at all those people. And then you got Greece protests today. Look at this.
The lies. No taxes. Yeah, right. An open and transparent government. Yeah, right. Be kind. Yeah, right. Stop lying to us, Jacinda. What we need going forward is policies that are built from the ground up. Policies that are being created in the communities and areas that they affect. They need to be fit for purpose and not at the expense of the environment.
Also wanted to share with you Rwanda portraying a girl that looks like a boy wearing a revealing t-shirt for the pedo audience. You can see that in the top right. This movie was filled with all kinds of junk, folks, that they are doing. Kids are so quick. The recent movie that came out, Black Widow. Just thought this was important to get this out as we get close to the end of this video. They are pushing the androgynous agenda. Kids are subjected to MK Ultra brainwashing and mind control. They showed children just in front of televisions being basically learning from the television. Then another part of the movie, kids' father sacrificers. Then the kidnapped children are terrified, pushed into shipping containers to be sent away. This is in the movie, folks. They also have sterilizing women by removing their uterus and ovaries. They actually say that that's what's done to them. This is his own children to his boss, the cabal. Both kids are sedated and taken away. They actually stick them in the neck with some type of product. The kids pass out and they carry them and put them into containers. They had another part in there where they remove a chip that was planted on the thigh. They also said they're pushing the cabal's agenda to implant microchip on every living being. That's what they talk about. One of the actresses with a swipe on her iPad, she actually swipes her iPad and she stops the pig from breathing. And then right before the pig dies, she turns the iPad, turns it back on, and the pig stands up and walks away. And then they actually do a drawing on the face of this young lady. And for the young folks in the audience, I apologize, but I'm going to say something. There's a ritual they have where they remove the face of the victims, and they actually almost show this in the movie as if they're going to do it. And then they have red vials, almost like adrenochrome. Now, Luna Phoenix said, I saw the movie last night. There were definitely some subliminal stuff, like kids being taken in shipping containers. Mind control, red pinky ring the villain had. Yet at the same time he was taken down, the victims, the women that were once children of the widow program, became free. Also, just remember this, the agenda that they're pushing, switching boys with girls and girls with boys, it's happening more and more they're pushing it. They're pushing the envelope. Satan is all hands on deck. Everything he's got left in his bag of tricks, of lies, he's throwing at us. All immoral. This vision, and in these mainstream magazines, National Geographic, National Pornographic, just put out the gender revolution. The best thing about being a girl is now I don't have to pretend to be a boy. This video, just to exactly what happens when a bunch of Boer men come together. We know what has been taken from us. Even if we can't always speak freely about it, we often sing songs like this and understand deep in our hearts this is our land and our birthright. Awesome, hardworking men, all singing together, and that's what we're talking about right there. And one of them was wearing, I believe, a Marine Corps shirt right there. Yep, see that? Marines. All right, another tough man, but still loving the children. It's just a reminder for us as we get to a close of this very deep video. Here you go.
Now, he's supposed to look like Donald Trump, but he's actually much too good looking. You are really handsome. Are you having a good time tonight?
Night.
Where's your daddy? And your mommy, right? Do you want to go back? Do you want to go back to them, or do you want to stay with Donald Trump?
Trump.
So we've got a lot going on. It's been difficult.
Hey babe, let's go for a bike ride. Did the government allow us to do that? Are we allowed to go out our front door? Are we allowed to get on our bikes? Are we allowed to pedal down the street? Allowed? Allowed is something that happened to you when you were a little kid, when you wanted to watch Creature Feature at 12 o'clock. Mom, Dad, can I watch Creature Feature? No, we're not going to allow you to do that this time. Okay. You're the authority. You can valve off my entertainment because you're our parents. Allowed. It's a joke.
Browsing shops is not permitted. Only one.
Browsing allowed, not permitted. My gosh. I'll try to stop interrupting.
Person per household may leave to do essential shopping. And from tomorrow, funerals are limited to 10 people.
It's a world pandemic. It's a 1 in 100 year event. So you can expect that we will have transmission from time to time, and that's just the way it is. We've got to accept that this is the new world order. We've got to accept that this is the new world order. This is the new world order. This is the new...
In shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
I don't even know what to say. But you're a conspiracy theorist. Man, we got to get rid of you. You're an extremist. You're an anti-government extremist. You don't want to steal from, you don't want anybody's stuff. You just want to be left alone. You just want to be free. That's all you're asking.
Guys, we already know that they want to decimate the dollar, destroy the economy.
I just want to be... Yeah, you're an extremist because you want to be left alone. You're an extremist because you don't want to be surveilled. You're an extremist because you want to keep 100% of everything you got up in the morning to go to work for so you can provide for your family. You're the extremist.
Guys, did you say hello? Do you see Keanu Reeves there via Skype? Hi, Keanu. Anything you want to ask him? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, why'd you take the red pill?
Because I wanted to know the truth. That's all we can ask is for the truth. Side by side is Keanu's movie on demand in the selection right now. Thank you, Keanu. We're right back with Jennifer Goodwin.
Press, and then I read something about how no one is supposed to know anything about what happens in Club 33, and now I'm terrified they're going to ask me to leave because
what happens in Club 33?
Okay, so here's what happened. It's Walt. They were closed for. They've been closed for like 30 years. Not the club, but the membership has been closed for like 30 years. I want to say the wait list has been closed for 15. And so when I was offered Once Upon a Time, and my lawyer called and he said, talking about money, talking about, trailers and things, like, no. Can I eat dinner at Club 33? And they were like, no.
Wow.
Yeah, because you have to be a member. And it's not fair to the other members if you can just negotiate it into your Once Upon a Time contract.
What?
It's not fair. Everybody waited, a lifetime to get in. And
to hell with them, you're Snow White.
Yeah, Snow White. So I kept, and then I did some various jobs for Disney, and I kept going, all right, this one's the one. And I eat dinner at Club 33, and they were like, so sorry. And I actually was reading the newspaper one day in May, and they had, I think that day, opened up their waiting list, and I called everyone trying to get in for free, but I called everyone I knew.
This is great news for my parents.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. They have really good mac and
Well, it's
cheese
great to see you. I think you really done.
Is now facing this. This is devastating. And for what? For a 99.9% recovery rate from this virus, and Delta even more. And
she did that to keep her job.
Right.
That's also, she did that to keep her job. And that's those businesses that are forcing people to get this or coercing them. They say, "Oh, we're not really forcing you. You can just quit." Easy to say, you big rich CEO.
Right.
These people depend on these jobs, and you're making it impossible for them. It's so immoral.
100%. And, everyone should go in, if they are required to get a vaccine, they should ask first, would you please sign? Everyone should go in, if they are required to get a vaccine, they should ask first, would you please sign this document stating that you will take full liability up to $2 million if needed, if whatever the wrongful effects are, and upon my death, should it be attributed to the vaccine, that you compensate my family with $2 million. And, if they sign it, they're crazy because anything can happen. They're going to be, losing money from if they have a big company. And then, of course, don't take the vaccine, just leave. But see where it is when you put all of the risk on them. All of the risk is now being put towards the innocent people, and the government is getting them to do all of this. And then we're going to have a social credit score, where we're deemed to be worthy or not to participate in society. You can see that this is just the first step, and we've got
are showing up to school and gathering. Hopefully they're not wearing masks. It's full. It's nice to see. And more than that, look at this. That is awesome. Sabino. What? A bunch of good kids. I love it. All right.
Deemed to be worthy or not to participate in society. You can see that this is just the first step, and we've got to fight it. So we are hoping and praying that there is. I'm watching what's going on with the election fraud that has been going on in the that went on certainly in the last election, and they're beginning to be able to have extreme proof of that. And so we hope to see justice done in 1984. It's completely, absurd.
I went to the 1-year anniversary of America's Frontline Doctors. And by the way, I think, is that form from them? Because they have a whole, if you're being mandated, and I have doctors, and by the way, I think, is that form from them? Because they have a whole, if you're being mandated, and I have it on my site too, themedicalrebel.com, you can go to mandates. But the AFLDS has a legal part. And you can go there and they tell you, step 1, take this form, like you said. Step 2, if that doesn't do it, you might have to get legal counsel or whatever. They have all sorts of things to do because it violates the Code of Federal Regulations. And I would say, we don't know if that can be pursued. I'm not a lawyer, but it strikes me that even when this is so-called, even if they manage to bribe, coerce, threaten the FDA regulators to approve these this as regular quote vaccines, not EUA, not emergency use stuff. Flu vaccine comes out, when any vaccine comes out, there are 3 stages that are done prior to release to the public. But once it's released to the public, technically, you're still in stage 4 of the FDA clinical trials. So it's still really experimental.
Right.
And that's something
I'm
to keep in
figure
mind.
out if there's a lot of placebos. I have not had anybody ask this question in Canada. We did air one clip of somebody, was it in the EU, where the doctor said that, well, we're going to consider even those that are vaccinated with the placebos to be fully vaccinated. And we're like,
right.
What?
I know.
Well,
I think it's happening because I talked to a pharmacist who lost his job because he refused to give these anymore. He started seeing young people seizing and all these bad things. So, but he told me, he said, when these things, they weren't all the same. Clearly they were different color, they were different viscosity, they were different viscosity, they felt different when you gave the shot. One of my colleagues at AFLDS has some vials of this. He said, I think 3 or 6 or 8 vials, 3 of them are magnetic, the others are not. Okay, so yes, this is a huge experiment being done on the world's population. Do you want to be a guinea pig? Oh, too late. So many people are.
Oh, that is so good. So, of course, if you've got these magnetism issues going on, you can check them with that. Doctors everywhere, pharmacists everywhere, pay attention. See if they're magnetized, and that could be an indication of what's a placebo and what's not. Am I reading that right?
Well, at least we'll know some things now. So another thing is, you hear people say, you saw all these videos about magnetism.
Yeah.
Well, and then you hear you look at the fact checkers. You look at the fact checkers. Oh, false, 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 false. And you hear the talking head saying, that's nonsense. Everything's on the internet. That's nonsense. That's not the way science works. The way science works is when you see something like that, you go out and you research it. So many of us did that. Instead of having a stethoscope in my office now, not that an orthopedic surgeon ever used it, I now have a paper clip, a magnet, and an EMF meter. And I don't have enough numbers yet, but about 60% of the people that took a vaccine had a positive paper clip test. In other words, I could put the paper clip on their arm, and it isn't just people say, well, are you sure it's not just because the skin's sweaty? No, the skin's not sweaty. The person goes like that, it doesn't move. I've seen people that have spoons on.
Good morning, America. Just finished my first color and cut for the day. Let's see what these girls are up to. Mallory's got her U of A studies going on, and the face prepping, pampering. And what about this girl? Ooh la la. What are you doing? Real estate?
Yeah.
Solar panels? but we're going to go play some dominoes. All right.
That he shut down the country. Take a listen.
Didn't recommend locking anything down. And the record will show, Neil, that we didn't recommend shutting everything down. I recommended to the president that we shut the country down. And that was a very difficult decision because I knew it would have serious economic consequences, which it did.
Once again, these people lie and they lie and they lie. And here's another clip. When Fauci was out there saying, listen, if you get the bioweapon, it will stop transmission. You will not get sick. Even the fake news was saying it. And then it shows Fauci saying, no, basically, it really doesn't stop transmission. You will get COVID. So they've lied to the people over and over and over. And they're trying to convince people that they didn't say these things. But take a listen to what he said.
Virus in your nasopharynx. And even though you really feel well, you could inadvertently pass it on to someone else. It is very unlikely that a vaccinated person, even if there's a breakthrough infection, would transmit it to someone else.
If you're vaccinated, you really don't need to worry about getting it in a way that's serious or transmitting it.
You nailed it, Chris. That's correct. Okay. That's absolutely correct. You're absolutely right. You said it correctly. The risk is extremely low of getting infected, of getting sick, or of transmitting it to anybody else. You should care, because if you get infected and you're not vaccinated, there is a chance, maybe a likelihood, that you will be part of the dynamics of the continuation of the chain of transmission. Namely, you will inadvertently or innocently transmit it to someone else who will then transmit it to someone else. And I don't think anyone would intentionally want to be part of the transmission chain. You want to be a dead end to the virus. So when the virus gets to you, you stop it. You don't allow it to use you as the stepping stone to the next person. Vaccinated people are clearly capable of transmitting the infection to an uninfected person.
So once again, all of this is a gigantic lie, and they're lying to you right again. Don't believe them. Don't believe what they're saying. You don't need the bioweapon. You don't need any of these things, because once again, there are other things that you can take. Plus, you have immunity. See, they didn't want people to know this. They didn't want anyone to know that your natural immunity would protect you. And yes, can you take zinc? Absolutely. Can you take D3? This is what the doctors are saying. The doctors are showing you that ivermectin works. Actually, the doctors are showing you that hydroxychloroquine works. So don't let them scare you. But you're going to see this is what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to push this because they want the fear factor. They want people to say, oh my God, I better just use my ballot. I can't go in and I can't vote. But I think the people are hardened. I don't think the people are going to buy this. Yes, you're going to have a group of people that will buy this, but this will enable Antifa illegals to wear their masks now because, again, they're using the same exact playbook. They're going to have chaos, and they want these people to cover their faces. So once again, they can't really say they're for Palestine when they're actually going out against the election. That doesn't really make sense, does it? So now they're going to change costumes once again, and they need a way to cover their face. So now they're going to give it to them. And remember, these people have lied from the very, very beginning. Remember going back in time when we had Joe Scarborough and his wife, Mika, continually say that the laptop was Russian disinformation? Well, let's go back a little bit in time to October 2020. Mays put this out and said, Joe Scarborough on people who believe the Hunter Biden laptop was real. History will expose you all as idiots and useful fools for the Russians. Wait a minute. But it was Hunter's laptop. So who's the fool? Oh, they are. Remember the Alpha Bank hoax? Oh, wait, that wasn't some operation by Trump sending messages to Russia. Hillary Clinton paid for that. Remember the Steele dossier? Oh, that's right. That was Hillary and Obama. They were involved in paying for that and pushing that too. So once again, who are the fools? Oh, they are. Who are the individuals that are putting out misinformation and disinformation? They are. They should be banned from every social media platform. But again, they're part of the criminal syndicate, and they knowingly push this fake information because they have the ability to go out and do a little bit of research. They didn't have to take the
Wuhan lab, as well as many others around, many of these other biolabs around the world, was actually U.S. funded and leads to this dangerous kind of research that in many examples has resulted in either a pandemic or some other major health crisis.
Well, let me ask you specifically, because we already know that EcoHealth Alliance was partnering with this Wuhan lab to do gain of function research.
That's right.
We just have never been able to have somebody say, and it was that exact experiment that led to this COVID bug. But have we gotten there? What's the new thing that you're digging in on?
We are working on that with Jay Bhattacharya and look forward to being able to share that hopefully very soon.
Okay.
That specific
link,
correct, between the gain of function research and what we saw with COVID-19.
I mean, that would be extraordinary because just so the audience knows, if that's true, if it was Peter Daszak's research with the Wuhan so-called bat lady that caused this pandemic, then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci helped fund the pandemic.
The thing that he denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right, under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then strong-armed and smeared people like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, anybody who came out and said, I don't know if that's natural. This actually smacks of lab.
And the reason why this is so important is not just what happened in the past. It's because this gain of function research is happening in biolabs around the world. I got attacked, and I think you saw this, we've probably talked about it on your show before, when I warned against U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine when the Russia-Ukraine war kicked off for this very reason. Who knows what kinds of pathogens are in these labs, and if released could create another COVID-like pandemic. And for that, I was called a Russian asset. You're, trumpeting Putin's talking points, all of this nonsense, simply for speaking the truth and stating facts that, by the way, are still on U.S. Embassy Ukraine's website today about how the U.S. has funded these biolabs in Ukraine. But my point is, in order to prevent another COVID-like pandemic or another major health incident that could affect us in the world, we have to end this gain-of-function research and provide the evidence that shows exactly why and how it's in our best interest, the American people's best interest, to bring about an end to it.
Folks, you can start your journey to sober living with a faith-based program featuring brain restoration formula from the New Spring Wellness Center.
Because you see people at their worst time going through different things in their lives, whether it's relationships.
These individuals that are walking out, they should be fired on the spot, because remember, he's the boss and they're walking out on him. This is absolutely awful. And each one of these individuals, they probably should be fired, because once again, the evidence has been brought out into the open. We know that Fauci was behind this. We know that it came out of the Wuhan lab, and all the other information about a wet market and things like that. It's fake, phony, and false. So these people that are walking out, most likely they were part of the problem. And with the evidence out there, they're not going with it, which means these people are part of the system, most likely must be removed. And we'll have to see what happens. But the other thing that we can see is that the first governor now is being investigated, where this governor during COVID threw sick people into a nursing home. Representative James Comer put this out and said, DOJ just opened an investigation into Andrew Cuomo's COVID nursing home tragedy in New York. This comes after GOP oversight caught Cuomo red-handed by lying to Congress and resent a criminal referral to Attorney General Pam Bondi last month. Cuomo must be prosecuted, and we need those 4 other governors to be prosecuted, because they all did the same exact thing. They took those individuals that were sick and they threw them into a nursing home, where those individuals in the nursing home had compromised immune systems. So they didn't care if they had flu, they didn't care if they had pneumonia, they threw them in there. And this reminds me of Post 4492, June 21st, 2020. On a bridge in New York, it says, Cuomo killed my mom. It was spray painted on a big sheet. And down below it says, how is it possible selectee governors thought it was safe to push COVID-19 positive elderly patients back into nursing homes, hot zones? Each year, 90% of deaths worldwide related to influenza A virus strike men and women age 65 and older. If the flu influenza is more deadly among the elderly known, how is it possible Select D governors thought it was safe to push COVID-19 positive elderly patients back into nursing homes, hot zones? Why would this be directed if hospitals, U.S. Navy medical ships in New York City, plus erected care facilities, had more than 70% capacity? So let's think about this. We had the ships there. We had makeshift hospitals. Nobody was in them. Why would you push them into nursing homes? Because again, it was a plandemic. Someone can be accused of third-degree murder if they unintentionally cause someone else's death while committing a dangerous act. Negligent, reckless, who benefits the most? Why only D governors? How do you reasonably explain what occurred? Well, in the very beginning stages, what did Trump do? He held off on the testing. And by holding off the testing, people, they were sitting there, does anyone have it? Nobody. How do you know if you have it? Those people that passed away from it, how do you know if they passed away from it? So what they had to do is they had to create the deaths. They had to say, oh, we took COVID people, we threw them into the nursing homes. Those people passed away. Oh my God, it's deadly. When the jig was up and people started to realize what they were doing, and the tests finally started to roll out. And remember, the PCR test gives very, very bad results, false positive. Actually, the creator of the PCR test said this test cannot be used for COVID. They had to bring it out to 40 revolutions because they couldn't pick up anything. And they used this to convince people that there was a pandemic. They used this to put a ticker on the TV, and they used this to show everyone that people are dying in the hospitals. Now, the hospitals, once again, they gave the people the test. Even if they died of a heart attack, if it came up positive with COVID, they got money, and they said they died of COVID. This is how they got their counts. The whole thing was one gigantic scam to cheat in the election, to overthrow the United States government, and to inject people with a bioweapon where they always knew that this bioweapon would never stop transmission, would never cure them, would never protect them, because, again, they never needed it. Actually, what it did, it gave you COVID, it gave you sicknesses, and it actually killed people. This is why it's being removed now. We knew. We all knew. Oh, wait, those people that knew, they were censored. So right there, that tells you everything you need to know. And the other thing that we could see is that all this money that's coming out of HHS, going into all these schools like Harvard and Yale, where they're saying, yeah, we need this money for research. None of it's going to research. Everything is being laundered. Patriots are in control put this out and said, RFK Jr. and Senator Mullen just exposed the insane misuse of $1.7 trillion budget for HHS. Universities like Harvard and Yale were receiving hundreds of millions of dollars for research, but most of the money was going to indirect costs. In other words, the money wasn't even being used for research. This sounds like one massive money laundering scheme with zero oversight. It's no wonder all these Democrat politicians are throwing a tantrum. Yes, it's money laundering all over the place. And them going crazy and pissed off and angry. They're not getting the kickbacks. They don't want to be exposed, but they are being exposed every step of the way. And we could see this is how much they're panicking because they realize they don't control the narrative anymore. And what the D's are trying to do, they're going to be using mega donors right now. And they're debating on plans to spend tens of millions of dollars to get a range of influencers to go against Joe Rogan and other podcasters. They're trying to find someone, a liberal person, where they'll be as popular and they can control the narrative. Well, this isn't going to work because you're going to have to tell the truth. You see, people are drawn to those individuals that are telling the truth, that have the facts. And if you're going to have an individual spewing out propaganda, and you're going to have a podcaster who's a conservative podcaster debunking what this person's saying, it's not going to go over too well. They could try it. It's not going to work in the end. Just like it didn't work with the deep state trying to cover with Biden pushing out the peace deal. The deep state players were destroyed. And at dawn, Trump won because there was no war. Actually, the presidents won because there was no war. And what's very interesting, this video that he put out is 3 minutes and 2 seconds. And this is December 7th, 2017. It says 4 green, Q, end. So does this mean it's the green light or the go signal, symbolizing approval, activation, or the start of an operation? I do believe so. And I do believe it is an operation. It's not that we're going to war. It might seem that way, just like when Trump had to use COVID, because he knew what the deep state was going to do. He needed to use this to actually wake the people up of this country. And yes, it looks scary. It looked like there was a virus everywhere, except for those people that were awake. And it looked like, holy the world's coming to an end. I do believe we're probably going to end up going through something.
The richest people in the world got $2 trillion richer, and you got fucked. In the next 90 seconds, I'll explain why you feel poorer than ever and why BlackRock played a huge role. COVID was the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. Even the World Economic Forum admits it. In the first year alone, the richest people in the world got $2 trillion richer, and you got fucked. In the next 90 seconds, I'll explain why you feel poorer than ever and why BlackRock played a huge role. COVID was the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. Even the World Economic Forum admits it. In the first year alone, the richest gained $2 trillion. How much is that? It's a 2 followed by 12 middle fingers. So why are you broke? Inflation, the only growth industry left in Europe. Prices of everything went up, but not your salary. This actually started before COVID happened, as you can see in this graph showing the US central bankers, aka the Fed, buying assets, meaning dumping money into the economy, which raises the prices because people and institutions have more money to spend. This started before COVID and before Ukraine. In 2019, BlackRock said central banks had to go direct, meaning the central banks had to give money not just to banks like they did in 2008, but to private institutions directly. A few months later, COVID happened. Odd timing, right? Who did the central banks hire to manage those asset purchases, you may ask? BlackRock. And surprise, the money flowed to the already rich. By the end of 2021, US billionaires were 70% richer, and you about 70% more screwed. Meanwhile, the poor are poorer everywhere. France is rioting over budget cuts. The UK economy is in the shitter. Germany is deindustrializing, and Australia wants to tax unused bedrooms. The richest people in the world got $2 trillion richer, and you got fucked. In the next 90 seconds, I'll explain why you feel poorer than ever and why BlackRock played a huge role. COVID was the biggest transfer of wealth, $2 trillion.
Though he's provided no evidence for that. So what are the facts on the ground? Investigative correspondent Rich McHugh is at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota for us tonight. Rich, what are you learning?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab. But I want to reset this for viewers because it's complicated. This all stems from Feeding Our Future. That's the largest COVID fraud ever. These criminals opened more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, and sites lied, claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. They created fake attendance rosters, fake invoices, and the government reimbursed them. David Gaither, he's a former state senator here. He saw this firsthand.
Rich, this is the Safari restaurant in downtown Minneapolis. This is the epicenter of some of the biggest fraud and waste and abuse in this area. The owner right now is currently in jail, federal jail. This restaurant, which seats about 35, supposedly served 18,000 plus meals a day.
A day?
A day for 7 months. 18,000 plus.
Oh boy. Now, Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar, she was a fixture at this restaurant, the Safari, during her run for office. I think we have a photo of her at the restaurant with her supporters in 2018. Feeding Our Future, that's that corrupt nonprofit. It was the epicenter of it, but others spawned from it. There were home relocation services, child autism.
So out of control in Minnesota?
I think what happened is that, you know, when you have these kind of new programs that are designed to help people, you're oftentimes relying on third parties to be able to facilitate. And I just think that a lot of the COVID programs that were set up, they were set up so quickly that a lot of the guardrails did not get created.
Oh, you know, I got my talking points from the Soroses. You know, they helped me out with this, and we came up with a good one. So, yeah, I'm going to go on Communist News Network. They're going to ask me a question, and I'm going to answer it so that it makes sense to people, so that they can just brush it off and, you know, say, yeah, it was, you know, third parties. It had nothing to do with us. You know, we had no knowledge. The third parties, you know, they get kind of corrupt. Just, you know how it works. It's not a big deal. But when they get caught, the Elon talk show with Tom Lauren, and he talked about, again, Trump asking him, why are people booing me at my rallies when I bring up the vaccine?
Being a conservative is not an interchangeable word with being a Republican. They are two different things. They really are. I mean, Lindsey Graham is not a conservative.
I know you've had your beefs.
Oh, I can't stand him. He's a warmonger. He's one of the most disgusting people I've ever had the displeasure of sitting across a table from. He called me a conspiracy theorist in front of the President of the United States, yelling at me across the table, swishing his wine around his third glass of Chardonnay. And Tommy, I tore his arm off and beat him in the head with it. Right in
What
front
was
of the
Trump's
president.
reaction to that, by the way? Because
Trump?
he likes Lindsey Graham, and I don't really get it.
He said, I got through. We were talking about the vaccine because Trump had asked me, why are people booing me at my rallies when I bring up the vaccine?
Oh, 100%.
And so I did. And that's when Lindsey Graham come up out of his chair. If you listen to conspiracy theorists like John Rich, Mr. President, the Democrats are going to take credit for what you did and beat you in the next election with it. And I looked over at Lindsey Graham and I said, do not interrupt me when I'm speaking. Do you understand me? And he looked at me like that. He said, well, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I said, but you did.
While America was distracted, something big just happened. The Federal Reserve quietly rolled out a new system called...
So anyway, what I was saying, and I finished telling the president, I said, even in my own family, there's people now that have heart damage, that have all kinds of problems. Country singers that I know that can't tour anymore because their heart rate can't go under 130 beats a minute. Like they've got myocarditis, pericarditis, all kinds of problems. I said, everybody out in your audience out there knows somebody that was damaged by that, and that we consider Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, the WHO, the CDC, Fauci, all the rest of them to be a bunch of depopulationist, homicidal maniacs.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump goes, unbelievable. I can't even believe this. And then when I shouted Lindsey Graham down, Trump thought that was one of the most hilarious things he had ever seen.
I'm sure he did.
And every time I see the president now, he goes, John, I've got to get another dinner scheduled and invite Lindsey because that was one of the greatest takedowns I've ever seen. I said, if I'd have known you were enjoying it, I would have actually said what I was thinking. He goes, oh, we got to put that together again. He looked at Lindsey Graham and goes, Lindsey, I could be wrong, but I don't think John Rich likes you very much. Right, John? I mean, I could be wrong, but wow, what a takedown. And Lindsey Graham is
so you can hear all that on the jab on what's been played out there. On the health side, I've shared with you the reactions to the vaccines. RFK Jr., speaking of health, and Secretary Sean Duffy want to overhaul airport food because millions of travelers are being fed junk every single day. There's 3 million Americans, they said, a day who go through airports and it's not a healthy experience for them, and I agree with that 100%. Over the past 30 years, I have flown probably an average 250 days a year. I can tell you that this is where healthy diets go to die. The food that's available in the airport, a lot of it tastes very good, but it's not very good for you. It's deep fried food, it's sugar bombs, it's ultra processed foods. All of them are going to leave you sicker than before you ate them. That came up. And it's about time. A lot of people traveling through airports, and there's hardly anything available when it comes to healthy food. I've been there. Done that even as a bodybuilder when I used to travel on the age of 29, 30 when I was traveling and doing bodybuilding events. It was, we had to carry a lot of our food with us. We couldn't find anything in the airports when we were traveling. Pretty sad.
Also, he's removing the funds for hospitals that perform child sex changes. So what does that tell you? If you're removing the funding, that means he just shut down the operation. So let's see, it's the money that allowed these people to do these things, because without the money, none of this exists. Actually, do you know without the money going to the hospitals, the pandemic wouldn't exist? Without the money going to the fake news, the pandemic wouldn't exist? So it's always the money. So if we shut down the flow of money, like Trump has been doing at the mid-level area, like USAID, NGOs, and many other areas, SNAP, Obamacare, you name it. If we go to the source of where we're getting all this money, and I'm talking about borrowed money, that is the Fed. Because when you have a finite amount of money, you just can't say, I need all of this. I mean, think about any business.
You all gonna learn to stop playing with us, and you all gonna learn that you all work for us, and none of these seats secure, and we coming for those seats, and you could sit there like you sitting there, like you unbothered, all of you all, yeah, but you getting up out of those speaker is
and that's at the Cook County Board meeting. and she's wearing a Chicago Flips red sweatshirt and a red hat. And I saw this that came in a while ago. A former Chicago hospital CFO has been found guilty of running a $293 million fake COVID testing scheme. Alan Alneely and his team set up over 20 pop-up sites, falsified test results, misappropriated federal funds, and used the money to buy luxury cars and real estate, all while patients received fraudulent tests during a public health crisis. Chicago's not the only place that's in trouble.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm and
charge after another. The special counsel, all of it, was a unrelenting attempt to overthrow the government the American people voted for. I cannot find words harsh enough to condemn the conduct of these conspirators, these insurrectionists.
Can't wait.
Because wars are the worst of all. Wars are worse than anything. But we can stop wars because that's sort of up to us. But things like dust flying in the air, wherever COVID comes from or whatever comes.
Dust flying in the air, wherever COVID comes from. Interesting that President Trump would drop this amazing piece of information. USA Go Brock says, I think the boss dropped a huge clue about dust from China. Viruses and dust, a growing concern. Viruses can be present in dust, which can pose a significant risk to human health. Research suggests that viruses can survive on dust particles for extended periods, making it a potential vector for transmission. Airborne viruses, influenza viruses, can spread throughout the air on dust, fibers, and other microscopic particles. Kind of reminds me of chemtrails, too. Anyway, this has implications for coronavirus transmissions as well as influenza. Dust storms and COVID-19, a study in southwest Iran found a correlation between dust storms and an increase in COVID-19 cases. And again, it's amazing that you guys remember how flu disappeared and COVID showed up? Well, it's just another part of flu. There was a movie, J.J. Von Pepe showed us, The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, based on the book I Am Legend. The virus traveled worldwide in a germ cloud. It was carried on the wind. It originated in Europe and spread globally. So early news reports and discussions among characters speculate it is carried on the wind. One newspaper headline even reads something like, is Europe's disease carried in the wind? Airborne. Remember that I Am Legend movie. Characters note that the germ cloud or airborne transmission leading to mass infection, death, and reanimation into undead vampires repelled by sunlight, garlic, and myrrh. So, again, President Trump dropping some very, very interesting information there. And there's going to be a lot of justice coming. He actually pointed this out in his speech.
It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did.
People will be soon prosecuted for what they did. Soon prosecuted for what they did. When he tells you something like that,
everyone has those expectations. This is the world that feminism built. Feminism destroyed the West. And every single problem, socialism, the capitalistic issues, the home issues, the birth rate, the crime, all this comes from feminism. That's why my war originally was on feminism. Now let's talk about the next stage. Why did that get me in so much trouble? This is what's really interesting. Because as much as I love women, and I'm not a misogynist, and I take care of every woman in my life, and I love my mother, and I have daughters, and I take care of all the women who have my kids, and they have security teams and Bentleys and mansions, and I'm a provider for absolutely everybody. I'm a very nice man. I like women. Unfortunately, women are a conduit. They are used by other groups of powerful men to destroy the society we live in. Do you know what? Let me tell you something. I have this theory. It's the high-low theory. I think we've all heard it before. Who didn't get the vaccine? Billionaires knew better, and homeless people knew better. You get in the middle. Who doesn't pay to the head of the table, and someone comes into your town, near your house, your family, you're the king in that household, you're going to defend it. But when you come home and your wife's nagging, and you don't and your kids don't listen, because they're busy watching YouTube, and they've gone to school and learned some crap you don't even like, And every time you have any concerns or raise your voice, your wife's just in your ear nagging at you, pecking away at you, blah, 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 blah. She deserves more. I saw on TikTok this girl had a Lambo. Why don't I have these things? Blah, blah, blah. Are you now preparing, do you feel ready for war as a man? You've given up, bro. You're like, fuck it. Take society. Take the road. Take the street. Take the town. Take the fucking country. Whatever. Leave me alone. Do you know what pushed COVID? Feminism. Feminism. This is why I'm going to jail. Feminism pushed COVID. A man came home. There's COVID and it's really dangerous. Don't care. Oh yeah, but grandma and the kids, and you should just put a mask on. The wife. The women. Oh, I'm scared. Because women. Woo!
How convenient.
Woo! No, as much as I love women, their superpower is emotionality, which means you can beat them with emotional arguments. Yeah. Let's analyze COVID. How did they get you COVID? Grandma. Now, when they said grandma to me, I said, grandma's 93, and 93-year-olds die. So it's unfortunate, but grandma's old, and I'm young, and I have things to do. It's very unfortunate. This is the circle of life. Mm-hmm. Women don't think that way. But grandma. Take the vaccine. Lock us in our house for years. Put a mask on. Take it off when you eat. Put it on when you piss. With grandma. Emotional arguments. They do this with everything. Immigration. You sit and say, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. Perhaps that's the number one thing that defines a country is its border. But look at this kid. This kid at the border. A kid. Emotionality. So if you empower women to the point where they're more powerful than men, you now get to psyop the entire population with emotional arguments. You can throw logic out the window. So they have taken feminism. They've empowered women to the point where they're more powerful than men. And anyone sitting here who thinks a woman's not more powerful than him, go to divorce court. You'll learn, as much as we complain about the patriarchy, women have more rights than you. They have more protections than you. There's not a single thing you can do that they can't do, and they can do a whole bunch of things you can't. A woman, take it from me, can lie to the police about you raping her 10 years ago with no evidence and take all your money and put you in a cell. Women run this show. They run it. And it is done purposefully by the evil men who want women in charge, so men are scared of them. So when the women believe the emotional argument on the TV, they then henpeck their man into believing it. And before you know it, we're all locked in our house wearing masks for 3 years because of grandma. It is feminism that has destroyed the West. It is big women that has destroyed the West. And me talking about exactly that is why I had to go sit in a fucking cell. That's the problem.
Let me tell you, when you...
Enslavement. Because if anybody thinks that's where any of this ends, with AI, with the riots, with the burning of cities, with the mass crime, you know what they do? There's only one thing, and COVID's the lesson. There's only one thing that humans will accept a loss of freedom for. Safety. I will take away your freedom and give you safety. I can prove that because I live in the safest country in the world, and I don't have freedom. But I'm safe. So even I will say, you know what, Dubai is very controlled, but I can wear a $5 million watch in the middle of the night. And my woman and my kid, the young girl and a woman by herself can go for a walk at 3 a.m. So we'll all accept a lack of freedom for safety. When this all burns down, they're going to come back and offer us safety, but they're going to control everything. And that is why they are pushing feminism. That is why talking against feminism gets you in so much trouble. Because it is a weapon that is being used en masse to destroy Western society.
Offshore arm email. Number 2, the quiet part out loud. Same month, same email chain. Epstein writes to Stalin Erdios. The tension is making money from a charitable org. Therefore, the money-making parts need to be arm's length. The architecture of this structure, convicted of sex crimes against minors, is explicitly acknowledging that the vehicle is designed to generate profit under the legal cover of charity. The tension email. Number 3, pandemic as an investment category. May 2017, 3 years before COVID-19, Boris Nikolic, Bill Gates' chief science and technology advisor, emails Epstein and Gates about donor-advised funds and rights. It might be a great path forward for some key areas such as energy, pandemic, etc. Pandemic. Listed like energy, a standing investment vertical, not an emergency, requested Epstein in writing. August 8th, 2013, 5 years after Epstein's conviction, an agreement letter addressed to William H. Gates states that Gates specifically requested that Jeffrey Epstein personally serve as the representative of Boris Nikolic. Gates waives conflicts of interest, provides broad indemnification in writing. He had access to every law firm, every advisor, every institution on earth. He chose a registered sex offender and put it on paper. The question you weren't supposed to ask, nobody builds a fire station after the fire. What these documents reveal is a fire station built beside a factory that stores accelerants, owned by the same people who wrote the building code. Patents, simulations, reinsurance triggers, offshore vehicles, career pipelines, all operational before COVID-19. The question isn't whether they planned a pandemic. The question is, what structural safeguard existed to ensure they didn't profit from one? Oh boy. What else do we have? Another Epstein bombshell. George Slopadopoulos, Katie Couric, Chelsea Handler, and Charlie Rose had private dinner, the royal family at Epstein's New York estate in 2010. In an email sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Serbian fashion designer Boris Nikolic, appears to brag about their magnificent night together. That's weird. Why was Hillary Clinton concerned about something so benign as a pizza and hot dog party at Obama's White House? Waking Outlaw reminded us. Remember, Barack Obama had $65,000 in hot dogs for a party.
Must continue to support vaccination around the world. And today, I am pleased to pledge $290 million for Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Each child should be protected. And more will come. Together with Gavi, we have the goal to vaccinate 500 million children by 2030.
Von der Leyen, of course, out there pushing something that will take people's lives. You head back to the United States, and we hear this from Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo.
But what I'm most excited about is an announcement that we're going to make, that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end.
Just to have the numbers to rig it. So they got together and made sure 2020 was everything they needed. So they created COVID. People think, oh, COVID was done to destroy our, kill us, put us on vaccines. Yes, that's part of it, but they released it early. And the main reason they released it was because the entire world leadership system that belonged to the deep state, the New World Order, that wanted us all gone, they all joined together to make sure that he did not get back in. He won. They let him steal it. Remember, he says, we had a pause. We let him steal it. They collected the evidence. We have it all. And all these folks have been under investigation, and I believe those investigations are wrapping up. I believe many people were given masks and playing acting roles to help us wake up as it leads to the climax of all of this. Where we can all finally breathe once again after almost a decade of being beat up and tortured. It's going to surgery, removing all of this danger from our country. We come out of the surgery, and it's going to be a long time for recovery after that. There's a lot of pain involved. We allowed this disease to hit our country hard, and there's major work being done to save it. So let's continue to stay strong. And remember, it's one nation under God.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, once again, we come before you in your throne, boldly asking once again for your guidance and your direction. Thank
during global crises. So basically, we could see that they use this to bypass what Trump did. So what you're going to see is that this is going to be challenged. It's probably brought up to the Supreme Court, and the state's going to lose, just like they always do. But you could see how tricky they are and how they try to go around everything the president is doing. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Moderna now says that the FDA has refused to review its application for experimental mRNA flu shot. And you know what? We don't need the mRNA bioweapons. We have plenty of cures out there that will cure you of the flu. Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. And we also have these cures that will probably cure cancer. In 2020, when they released COVID, they said this is the perfect time for the Great Reset, the perfect time for the Green New Scam, because this was their plan from the very, very beginning. They were going to use war to do this. Then they realized we could use COVID to do this. Now they're back to war, which leads me to believe when all else fails, they'll try to start a war. But look at what Trump is doing right now. He's considering a partnership with Russia. Putin is considering a partnership with the U.S., and this would entail U.S. and Russia working together on fossil fuels, joint investments in natural gas, offshore windfalls for U.S. companies, Russia return to the U.S. dollar settlement system, and this would change the global economy. Actually, it would destroy the BRIC system just like that. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, going way back, Trump mentioned that China is deep state players. That's very, very interesting. Is this all being set up for peace negotiations, which is only actually going to leave the EU and the deep state players one choice, probably some type of false flag. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's really interesting, and we should never forget what happened with COVID, because again, they pushed this on the people of the world. And basically, they lied to the people of the world, and they used it to overthrow the United States government and to reduce population and to make people sick. And you know what's very interesting is that public opinion now is shifting, and the people are getting angry because 50% of Americans are now looking at COVID, looking at the vaccine, and they're saying the vaccines are now causing illnesses, they're causing deaths. And basically, this is coming from a new Rasmussen survey. So as of right now, 56% of Americans now suspect COVID-19 vaccines caused massive deaths. So the people now are waking up and they're really realizing what's happened. And think about what's going to happen when the election rigging information comes out. People are going to start to realize, wait a minute, did they use COVID to implement mail-ins so they could cheat in the election, to overthrow the United States government, overthrow the duly elected president, to maintain control? Did they do all of this to we the people here? And not just the people in this country, but the people around the world. That's what people are going to find out. And this is going to be a complete and utter disaster for them. We'll be talking more about the Save America Act and everything else in a little bit. But think about what's happening out in New York City. You can see that New York City mayor, he's going down the socialist path right now, and it's actually becoming a very big disaster in New York City. Number one,
you can't imagine. One of the ways that we're trying to help, right? You go to somebody and you say, look, I want to tell you what's going on with the vaccines. Liberal mindset, if they would just listen and say, hey, think about what's happening. Julie Donuts showed this 3 to 29 vaccines by the baby's first birthday since 1986. Big Pharma knowingly poisoning our children for decades. Cancer, autism, tics, autoimmune diseases, ADHD, SIDS, and more. Listen to this.
Gone from 3 shots following in 1986, one before the first year of age. At the beginning of 2025, you know how many shots it was that a baby got on or before their first birthday? Take a guess.
72.
No, that's their whole childhood. 29.
29 by the first birthday?
Yes, on or before the first birthday. Went from 3 to 29 shots, including in utero. Now, with the recent changes, it's down to 19. And the reason I focus on the first year, most of those shots in the first 6 months of life, is that's when the baby is going through really critical stages of neurological, immunological development, right?
Neurologists are stunned. They've confirmed that ear ringing is shrinking your brain cells.
Synapse, and think how small a baby is, okay? And so they're really susceptible to various effects. Also, babies can't express what's going wrong with them, okay? So now, in the normal course, you've got a product. You've gone from 3 of them in 1986 by the first year. You're up to 29 beginning of 2025. Now you're at 19 still. And during that period, you've gone from under 10% of kids had a chronic health issue in the early 1980s, according to the data. You now have over 40%. Some data.
Bill Gates on trial. I would believe that this was real had I not been in that courtroom myself. Right now in the Netherlands, there are 2 connected legal cases against Bill Gates, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, now Secretary General of NATO, and other senior government officials.
We can prove without any doubt that this official narrative of COVID-19 is fake. And the things are going so quick now. We also mentioned the Epstein files, which shows that there is a very evil elite led by bankers, really evil to this world and to all the people living here.
In court, lawyer Peter Stassen said, on the Global Elite Network, there is a globally organized malicious elite. At the top of this elite are at least some of the families who own.
I did these crimes, and I deserve to go to jail. I don't know what else to say for myself. I'm so
All right,
sorry.
Mr. McKenna, I understand. And I really appreciate you taking full responsibility. Under indictment 739. Yes, please, go on, please. No worries.
You granted a 6-week extension. It was very helpful to my son.
Thank you very much, sir. But ultimately, sir.
I know.
All right. Under indictment 73900 of 2024, where you pled guilty to grand larceny in the 2nd degree in violation of Penal Law 155.40, which is a C felony, you're hereby sentenced to 1 to 3 years in prison to run concurrent under indictment 70277 of 2024.